speakers and members on the dais, dignitaries of the dais, vice chancellors of various universities who are here, and participants of this very interesting session on the skill development and industry institution interface. I think we have listened to three very interesting presentations on three different aspects of the issue of skill development and the involvement of institutions and industry in this exercise. What I would try to do is that rather than try and make an attempt to kind of summarize what has been said, let me add my bit to the discussion that has been initiated. And I would like to talk about a few broader issues before we throw the session open for a interaction with the participants and question answers. I think the first thing which emerges, and we had a very interesting presentation on Rwanda, and we all knew, but the presentation on Rwanda makes it abundantly clear that the conceptual and institutional framework to address the issue of skill development, especially in developing countries, exists in all developing countries and is broadly comparable, similar. The problems of skill development are also common across the developing world. Issues are more or less similar. However, the scales and the magnitude of the problem differ dramatically from country to country. Different countries, although they are developing, are at different stages of development with different structures, and therefore the skill development assumes a country context, and within the country the regional context, and this is something which cannot be denied. And obviously goals of skill development can vary, and once the purpose and goals of skill development vary and the magnitude of the problem varies, the requirement of resources for achieving the task or accomplishing these goals is also going to vary very significantly across. Now, in this context, what I'm going to talk about is the problem that we face, India faces as a nation, in terms of the larger issue of skill development. If you look at some macro picture that emerges as far as our country is concerned, the survey conducted by the government, the Planning Commission, and various international bodies like the World Bank very clearly shows that for a country of our size and a country that aspires to be on the forefront of knowledge economy and drive the process of economic development over the next 2 decades essentially through the manpower and reap the demographic dividend that all of us are going through. For that country, if you look at the skill-based vocational training, vocational education, or the specific skill development focus, then only 3% of the country's rural youth in the age group of 15 to 29 and only 6% of urban youth have gone through some kind of skill development training or vocational training or education. Now, when you compare these percentages with other developing countries and developed countries, I mean, they are woefully inadequate. I mean, the numbers elsewhere would be well in excess of 20%. And in some cases, it would be close to 50%. So we are we are therefore way behind. So on one hand, we have highly skilled manpower coming out of our educational and skill development system. On the other hand, we have the problem of a very large number of young boys and girls, men and women, who go through educational institutions, who go through some kind of training, but do not emerge out of the system with any skills, and as a result, the employability gets very seriously compromised. I mean, this is the reason why if you see surveys that people do, I mean, they come to the conclusion that not even 25% of the output that comes from universities is employable. I mean, and that is something which speaks for, because at the end of the day, jobs, employment is not so much about knowledge per se, but it is more about skills. Now, very unfortunately, this is a gap that really needs to be. Now, I mean, if you look at our university structure, 70% of the output of our universities belongs to what we call the general education category. The arts, science, commerce, and so on and so forth. And if you ask say that what is the purpose of this general education, the purpose is enhancement of knowledge, developing the intellectual capability, and so on and so forth. Which now development of intellectual capability, if it begins to differ dramatically from development of skills, then that is where a mismatch as far as the job market is concerned arises. Now, I mean, enough has been written about this as to why this has happened and what are the problems. But the crux of the matter is that in all developed country experiences where you see the unemployment percentages amongst the educated youth, that means those who have gone through university education or some kind of vocational training or vocational education, since the developed countries suffer from massive business cycles arising out of global recessions and so on and so forth. So if you take out those years and look at a normal year, which is a year of normal economic activity, then the unemployment rates among the educated youth is not going to be very large. They increase dramatically in a year of recession, but otherwise, whereas we have been experiencing sustained high levels of unemployment amongst the educated people. Now, the major problem is that while we have the standardized setup for vocational education and training on paper, it is the outcomes which is what creates the problems. And when you talk about the outcomes, then you go into the issue of process, you go into the issue of delivery, and you go into the issue of assessment, and then only you come to the issue about what is the outcome. And it is here where you have a huge amount of problem that we are facing. I mean, if you look at, what is the challenge of the employment and skill development in a country like India? You see, the available statistics tells you that once a child completes 10th standard education, then there is a huge dropout between 10th and higher secondary. That is, at the stage of completing the 10th standard board exam and then going into the higher secondary, there is a huge dropout. Now, what happens to these boys and girls who drop out after completing the 10th standard? And what is it that is done to them at that formative stages? Because they are 16, 17-year-olds, and what is it that happens to them at that particular level? Now, it is that which determines the rest of their life. It is that which determines, now this is a very large number. And the vocational education and vocational training should fill this void to some extent and make them job ready, make them employable in the market. And that is the reason why there is this entire focus on the skill development at that particular stage. Now, we are aware about this. See, the beautiful thing about Indian policymakers is that they don't need to be educated about what the problems are. They are absolutely superb in terms of description of the problems. They are even better in terms of describing various constraints as to why the problems cannot be solved or why the problems are formidable and so on. Now, if you look at our vocational education system, I mean, it was 11th five-year plan that really focused on vocational education and, gave a lot of thrust to that. But if you look at, currently we have about 5,000 industrial training institutions under the Ministry of Labor and around 7,000 vocational schools under the Ministry of HRD. Now, if you compare this number with China, China has 500,000. I mean, so there is absolutely no comparison. But then somebody can always argue the other statistics that these institutions have a certain capacity. So what is happening to the utilization of that capacity? It is pathetic. Not even 50% of the capacity in existing vocational education institutions in India is utilized, which essentially means that creating more vocational education institutions is not the way forward. I mean, that's not necessarily the answer. The answer is first, reform the ones which exist. Make them perform better, improve the outcomes of what we already have. Now, what is it that it would take for a vocational or a technical training institution to kind of deliver? I think let us understand that the first thing that we require is some kind of a credible certification process out of this vocational education and training institutions that we are doing. I mean, it's one thing to impart skills, it is another thing to say that these skills result in some kind of a qualification that the market recognizes. Now, that certification process has to be strengthened. Now, the second thing is that this is not like a university degree. I mean, unless there is a practical training that has gone into this, it is not going to produce an outcome, which essentially means that the focus of this has to be on practice. I mean, it's not a question of going to these institutions and listening to lectures. I mean, so they are not really meant for that. Now, but when you want to impart practical training, industry internship is a way out, but that is not the only way out. I mean, you require, therefore, these vocational training institutions and technical institutions to have facilities for imparting practical training. The skill cannot be learned through lectures, the skill can be learned only through learning by doing. And that learning by doing requires infrastructure, it requires facilities. So if at all, these vocational training institutions require more resources, they require better management. But as a society, we look down upon this. I mean, when we were listening to Dr. Sikibi from Rwanda, he said, and this was very important, that vocational or technical training institutions are perceived as the ones meant for those who are failed students. Right? I mean, you couldn't clear this, which essentially means as a society we look down upon these means. Now let us understand that large-scale organized sector can afford the skilled manpower coming out of the university setup. But what happens to the small, medium and micro-level enterprises? Now, who is going to provide the resources to them? Now, there is a hierarchy of institutions, there is a hierarchy of industrial units, and where is the corresponding hierarchy of educational institutions to kind of cater to the needs of this? Now, it is here where curriculum development committees of these institutions, now are you facilitating the industry inputs, the potential employers come and have a say in what you are going to teach? Are we involving those potential employers, their personnel to actually come and be visiting faculty in this. Not deliver the whole thing, but come and be the visiting faculty. So I think there are a number of ideas in terms of encouraging the interface between institution and industry which need to be put in place. I don't think that we need to educate ourselves about these ideas. What we require is a framework to implement these ideas. Now, who is bothered about the leadership of these vocational training institutions? You know, who is driving these efforts? And please remember that there will be any number of instances that I can give you where the industry probably wanted to help, but there was no cooperation or effort coming out from the other side. Now the reason is that the manner in which these are structured, I mean, there are no incentives for these institutions to deliver and perform. Finally, let me also emphasize that because of the lack of infrastructure, because of the lack of opportunities for practical training, the range of skills for which we impart training gets limited. 95% of vocational and technical training institutions in India impart only 40 skills. The corresponding thing in China is 4,000 skills. You know, so, I mean, you know, now that is because they have created that kind of an infrastructure. Chinese industrial economy without this vocational training institution support would collapse, would just simply collapse. Now, China has built competitive advantage the world over, not through its premier educational institutions. It has built this advantage through this massive investment in the vocational training and education. So if we are serious about focusing on the skills, it is high time that we begin to focus on this. And the same standard methodologies. You constitute a task force, they'll come up with an ideas and the agendas and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, there has to be an action plan and a commitment of resources with accountability in terms of output. We know what it takes to achieve this. The question is, who is going to champion this? Now, we can look for government, we can look for the private sector, we can look for a public-private partnership. There are various means to do this, but I think the time is running out on us. We are sitting on a mountain of highly potential youth, young boys and girls. If you do not want to drive frustration into them, then it's high time that we focus on the development of skills and employability of our vocational education institutions. I'm sure that brainstorming and ideas like this would help us to make a small contribution in that particular direction. I thank you very much.